The alarm clock buzzed at 4:30 a.m., just like it had every morning for the past 3 years. Maya rolled over in her small bed, feeling the familiar ache in her back from the old mattress springs. The room was cold, and she could see her breath in the early morning air. The heating bill was already too high, so they kept the thermostat low. She looked across the tiny room at her grandmother's bed. Grandma Rose was still sleeping, her breathing shallow but steady. At 82, Rose had been Maya's only family since she was 12 years old. Now, at 24, Maya worked 3 jobs just to keep them both afloat. Maya quietly got dressed in her work uniform, a faded blue shirt and black pants that had seen better days. She looked in the cracked mirror above the dresser and sighed. Her reflection showed a young woman who looked older than her years, with tired eyes and shoulders that carried too much weight. The first job started at 5 a.m. at the town diner. Maya walked the 6 blocks through the empty streets, her breath creating small clouds in the cold air. Pine Creek was one of those small towns where everyone knew everyone else's business. Population 3,200, and Maya felt like all of them had opinions about her life. "Morning, Maya," called out Ben, the diner owner, as she walked through the back door. Ben was one of the few people in town who treated her with genuine kindness. He was in his 60s, had run the diner for 30 years, and never asked too many questions. "Morning, Ben. Coffee ready?" Maya asked, tying her apron around her waist. "Always is for you, honey, you know the routine." Maya poured herself a cup of the strong black coffee and began her morning prep work. She chopped vegetables, prepped the grill, and set up the counter for the breakfast rush. By 6 a.m., the regular customers started filing in. First came old Pete, from the hardware store, who ordered the same thing every day. 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast, and coffee. Then came the group of construction workers who were always loud and left big messes but tipped well. Maya moved efficiently between tables, taking orders, refilling coffee cups, and cleaning up. At 7:30, the morning crowd changed. The office. Workers came in, dressed in their clean clothes and talking about their weekend plans. Maya served them with a smile, but inside, she wondered what it would be like to have weekends free, to have plans that didn't involve working or taking care of someone. "Maya, honey, table 6 wants their check," Ben called from the kitchen. Table 6 had 3 women Maya's age who had gone to high school with her. They whispered among themselves and occasionally glanced in her direction. Maya had learned to ignore the whispers years ago, but they still stung. She delivered the check with a professional smile. "Here you go. Have a great day." One of the women, Jessica, looked up with false sweetness. "Oh, Maya, I heard about your grandmother's doctor visits. Everything okay?" The question seemed innocent enough, but Maya knew better. In a town this size, news traveled fast and medical bills were expensive. Everyone knew when someone was struggling. "She's doing fine, thank you for asking," Maya replied politely, not giving away any details. After they left, Maya heard Jessica's voice carry from outside. "She's gained even more weight. And those clothes. I just feel bad for her." Maya's face burned with embarrassment, but she kept working. She had learned long ago that responding to gossip only made it worse. Better to stay quiet and focus on what mattered: earning money and taking care of Grandma Rose. Her shift at the diner ended at 11 a.m. Maya walked home quickly to check on her grandmother and grab a quick lunch before her second job. Grandma Rose was awake, sitting in her favorite chair by the window. "How was work this morning, sweetheart?" Rose asked, her voice weak but loving. "Good, Grandma. Ben says hello." Maya sat down next to her grandmother and held her thin hand. "How are you feeling today?" "Oh, you know. Some days are better than others. The pain in my chest isn't too bad today." Maya's heart clenched. The chest pain had been getting worse over the past few months. The doctor wanted to run more tests, expensive tests that their insurance wouldn't fully cover. Maya had been putting off making the appointment, hoping things would improve on their own. "That's good to hear," Maya said, squeezing her grandmother's hand gently. At 12:30, Maya walked to her second job at the town's small grocery store. She stocked shelves, helped customers, and ran the cash register. The work wasn't hard, but standing for hours made her feet ache. Her uniform there was a green vest that was too small and made her feel even more self-conscious. The afternoon customers were mostly housewives and retired people. They were polite but distant. Maya often felt like she was invisible to them, just part of the store's fixtures. Around 3 p.m., Mrs. Patterson came through Maya's checkout line. She was the bank manager's wife and one of the town's biggest gossips. Maya, dear, I've been meaning to ask. How is your grandmother's health? We've been praying for her at church. Wait, she's managing, thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Maya scanned the woman's groceries efficiently. You know, if you ever need help with anything, financial assistance programs, that sort of thing, the church has resources. Maya's cheeks burned. She knew Mrs. Patterson meant well, but the offer of charity made her feel small. We're doing fine, but thank you. Of course, dear. You're such a good granddaughter working so hard. Though you might want to consider, well, taking better care of yourself too. For your health, you know. The words hit Maya like a slap. Mrs. Patterson was referring to her weight, wrapped in false concern. Maya finished scanning the groceries without another word. Her shift at the grocery store ended at 6 p.m. Maya had 2 hours to get home, make dinner for herself and her grandmother, and then head to her third job cleaning offices. Downtown, the work was lonely but paid well enough to make it worthwhile. As she walked home, Maya passed the town library. Through the large windows, she could see people browsing the shelves, reading at tables, using the computers. She had loved reading, as a child, but there was no time for such luxuries now. Dinner was simple, canned soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. Maya and her grandmother ate together while watching the evening news. These quiet moments were the best part of Maya's day, when she could forget about work and gossip and just be present with the person who loved her most in the world. Maya, honey, I need to tell you something, Grandma Rose said during a commercial break. Maya's stomach tightened. What is it, Grandma? Dr. Martinez called today while you were at work. He wants me to come in for more tests next week. He's concerned about my heart. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Maya had been dreading this conversation. What kind of tests? Maya asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. Some kind of scan. And maybe we need to talk about seeing a specialist in the city. Maya's mind immediately went to the money. The tests would cost hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. A specialist would cost even more. Their insurance would cover some of it, but not nearly enough. We'll figure it out, Grandma. Don't worry about the money. Rose looked at her granddaughter with sad eyes. Sweetheart, I know how hard you work. 3 jobs, barely any sleep. This isn't the life I wanted for you. My life is fine, Maya said, firmly. You took care of me when I needed it. Now it's my turn to take care of you. After dinner, Maya helped her grandmother get ready for bed, then headed out for her third job. The office building was quiet at night, just her and the security guard. She vacuumed carpets, emptied trash cans, and cleaned bathrooms. The work was mindless, which gave her too much time to think. How was she going to pay for her grandmother's medical care? Her 3 jobs barely covered their basic expenses now. She had no savings, no family to turn to, no college education that might lead to better paying work. Maya finished cleaning around midnight and walked home through the empty streets. The town looked different at night, peaceful, almost pretty. But Maya felt anything but peaceful. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders like a heavy blanket. Back home, she checked on her grandmother, who was sleeping soundly. Maya sat at their small kitchen table and pulled out a notebook where she kept track of their expenses. She did the math 3 times, hoping she had made a mistake. They were barely breaking even each month. Any unexpected expense, like medical bills, would put them in serious trouble. Maya had been putting off several of her grandmother's doctor's appointments already, hoping to save money. But Rose's condition seemed to be getting worse. Maya looked around their tiny apartment. The furniture was old and mismatched, donations from the church years ago. The carpet was worn thin in places. The refrigerator made strange noises. It wasn't much, but it was home, and it was all they could afford. She thought about the women from high school she had served at the diner that morning. They lived in nice houses, drove newer cars, had husbands with good jobs. Maya wondered what it would be like to have choices in life, to not worry constantly about money. But then she reminded herself that self-pity wouldn't solve anything. Tomorrow would bring another day of work, another day of taking care of her grandmother, another day of putting one foot in front of the other. Maya closed the notebook and got ready for bed. In 5 hours, the alarm would ring again, and she would start the routine all over. As she lay down in her small bed, she could hear her grandmother's gentle breathing across the room. "We'll figure something out," she whispered to he. 3 weeks after Dr. Martinez's phone call, Maya sat in the sterile waiting room of Pine Creek Medical Center, holding her grandmother's trembling hand. The test results were in, and they were waiting to hear what they already feared in their hearts. "Rose Williams," the nurse called out, her voice echoing in the quiet room. Maya helped her grandmother stand up slowly. Rose had lost more weight in recent weeks, and her breathing had become more labored. They walked together down the hallway to Dr. Martinez's office, Maya's heart pounding with each step. Dr. Martinez was a kind man in his 50s who had been treating Rose for years. He looked up from the file on his desk with serious eyes. "Please, sit down," he said gently. "Rose, I'm going to be direct with you because I know you appreciate honesty." Maya felt her stomach drop. She squeezed her grandmother's hand tighter. "The tests show that your heart condition has worsened significantly. You have severe blockages in 3 major arteries. Without surgery, I'm afraid." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "The situation is very serious." Rose nodded slowly as if she had been expecting this news. Maya felt the room spinning around her. "What kind of surgery?" Maya managed to ask. "Triple bypass surgery. It's a major operation, but it's your grandmother's best chance. Without it, she might have months, maybe less." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Months. Her grandmother, the woman who had raised her, who had sacrificed everything for her, had months to live without this surgery. What? What would something like that cost? Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dr. Martinez pulled out another piece of paper. "The surgery itself, the hospital stay, the recovery care, we're looking at around $40,000. Your insurance will cover about 60%. Maya did the math quickly in her head. $16,000. It might as well have been 16 million. "How long do we have to decide?" Rose asked, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'd like to schedule the surgery within the next 2 weeks. The sooner the better." They left the doctor's office in silence. Maya helped her grandmother into their old car, a 15-year-old sedan that barely passed inspection each year. As they drove home, Rose finally spoke. "Honey, I want you to know that whatever happens, I've had a good life." "Don't talk like that, Grandma. We're going to figure this out." But Maya had no idea how. That night, after Rose went to sleep, Maya sat at the kitchen table with her calculator and every bill they owed. She called the hospital's financial department and begged for a payment plan. The best they could offer was spreading the $16,000 over 2 years, $800 a month. Maya currently made about $1,800 from her 3 jobs combined, and their basic expenses were already $1,500 a month. There was no way to make the numbers work. Maya applied for a loan at the bank the next day. Mrs. Patterson's husband, the bank manager, was polite but firm. "I'm sorry, Maya. With your income and credit history, we can't approve a loan of this size. Perhaps if you had some collateral." Maya owned nothing of value. Their car was worth maybe $2,000. Their furniture was donated. She had no college degree, no valuable skills that could land her a higher-paying job quickly enough to matter. Over the next few days, Maya explored every option she could think of. She called charity organizations, applied for medical assistance, programs, even started a crowdfunding page online. The charity had waiting lists. The assistance programs required paperwork that would take months to process. The crowdfunding page raised $87 in its first week. Maya picked up extra shifts at the diner and grocery store, working 16-hour days. But even if she worked 24 hours a day for the next year, it wouldn't be enough. Meanwhile, Rose's condition was declining. She needed help getting out of bed in the mornings. Simple tasks like making tea left her breathless. Maya watched her grandmother fade a little more each day, knowing that time was running out. On a particularly difficult Tuesday, Maya was cleaning the office building late at night when she overheard a conversation. Two men in expensive suits were talking in one of the offices she was supposed to clean. "The internet business is booming," one man was saying. "Lonely people will pay good money for attention, especially from young women." Maya tried not to listen, but their conversation continued as she emptied trash cans nearby. "My cousin makes $2,000 a week just talking to men online. Nothing illegal about it. Just conversation, maybe a little flirting." $2,000 a week. Maya's hand stopped moving as the number sank in. That would be enough to pay for her grandmother's surgery in just 2 months. She finished her cleaning duties with the conversation replaying in her mind. At home, she sat at her old laptop and researched what the men had been talking about. What she found made her stomach turn, but also gave her an idea that terrified and tempted her at the same time. There were websites where women could make money talking to men through video chats. Some of it was just conversation. Some of it involved more. Maya spent hours reading about it, learning how much money some women made, understanding what was involved. The next morning, Maya couldn't concentrate at the diner. She burned eggs, spilled coffee, and mixed up orders. Ben pulled her aside during a quiet moment. "You okay, honey? You seem distracted." Maya looked at this kind man who had always treated her with respect. What would he think if he knew what she was considering? "Just tired," she said. "Grandma had a rough night." That afternoon at the grocery store, Maya overheard Mrs. Patterson talking to another customer. "That poor girl is working herself to death. 3 jobs, and for what? That old woman is going to pass soon anyway." Maya should be thinking about her own future. The casual cruelty of the words cut deep. Maya realized that the town saw her as a lost cause, a young woman wasting her life on a hopeless situation. That night, Maya made her decision. She created a profile on one of the websites using a fake name and photos that didn't show her face clearly. Her hands shook as she filled out the information. The first few days were awkward and uncomfortable. Men would request video chats, and Maya would talk to them while wearing makeup and clothes that made her feel exposed. Most of the men just wanted someone to listen to them, to make them feel important. Maya learned to play along, to laugh at their jokes, to make them believe she was interested in their lives. The money came quickly. $50 for an hour-long conversation. $100 for a more personal chat. Maya found she could make in one evening what she normally made in a week at the grocery store. But the work took an emotional toll. Maya felt like she was selling pieces of herself, even when the interactions remained relatively innocent. She created a character, a bubbly, confident woman, nothing like her real self. After each session, she would sit in her bathroom and cry, washing off the makeup, like she could wash away what she had done. Maya told herself it was temporary, just until she had enough money for her grandmother's surgery, just until Rose was healthy again. Then she would stop and never look back. But keeping the secret was harder than she expected. She had to lie to her grandmother about where the extra money was coming from, claiming she had picked up additional cleaning jobs. Rose was suspicious but too weak to ask many questions. The worst part was the shame. Maya felt it every time she looked at herself in the mirror, every time someone at the diner or grocery store spoke to her kindly. She was living a double life, and it was eating away at her soul. After 3 weeks, Maya had made almost $4,000. At this rate, she could have enough for the surgery in 2 more months. But her grandmother was getting worse. Dr. Martinez called twice, urging them to schedule the operation soon. One night, Maya was in the middle of a video chat when she heard her grandmother calling for help from the bedroom. Maya quickly ended the session and rushed to Rose, who was having trouble breathing. I think you should call the ambulance," Rose whispered. Maya's hands shook as she dialed 911. As they waited for the paramedics, Rose grabbed Maya's hand. "Honey, I want you to promise me something. Whatever happens, don't sacrifice your dignity for me. Your character is worth more than money." The words hit Maya like a knife to the heart. If her grandmother only knew what she had been doing. The paramedics arrived and took Rose to the hospital. She stabilized after a few hours, but Dr. Martinez was clear. The surgery couldn't wait much longer. Maya sat in the hospital waiting room, surrounded by the beeping of machines and the quiet conversations of other worried families. She thought about her grandmother's words. She thought about the person she was becoming, the secret she was keeping, the shame that followed her everywhere. But she also thought about losing Rose, about being completely alone in the world. The surgery was their only hope, and this was the only way Maya could afford it. Walking home from the hospital at 3 a.m., Maya made a decision that would haunt her for months to come. She would continue with the video chats, but she would do whatever it took to make the money faster, even if it meant crossing lines she had sworn she never would. Maya didn't know that her choices were about to catch up with her in ways she never expected. In a small town like Pine Creek, secrets had a way of coming to light, and when they did, Maya would discover that sometimes the cure could be worse than the disease. The next few weeks would test everything Maya believed about herself. The black SUV pulled up outside Pine Creek Library on a Tuesday morning when the October air carried the first real chill of autumn. Maya barely noticed it as she walked past. Her mind focused on the stack of library books in her arms, a small luxury she allowed herself once a week. Reading had always been Maya's escape. Even with her impossible schedule, she carved out 30 minutes each week to browse the library, shelves, and check out a few books. It was the one place in town where she felt invisible in a good way, where no one judged her clothes or whispered about her life. The Pine Creek Library was small but well-maintained, with tall windows that let in soft morning light. Maya loved the smell of books and the quiet atmosphere. Mrs. Chen, the librarian, always greeted her with a genuine smile and never asked uncomfortable questions. Maya was returning her books from last week when she noticed him. A man in his 30s, tall with dark hair, wearing an expensive-looking leather jacket. He stood in the business section, holding a book about ranch management, but he looked lost. "Excuse me," he said, approaching the front desk where Maya stood. "I'm looking for information about local agriculture, specifically cattle ranching in this region. Do you know if there's a local section?" His voice was different from the men Maya knew in Pine Creek. Educated, confident, but not arrogant. He spoke to her like she mattered, making eye contact instead of looking through her the way most people did. Maya glanced toward Mrs. Chen, who was helping another patron. "The local section is in the back corner," she told him. "But if you're looking for current ranching information, you might want to check the agricultural journals. They keep the recent issues behind the desk." "That's helpful, thank you." He smiled, and Maya noticed it reached his eyes. "I'm not from around here, obviously. Just trying to get a feel for the local farming situation." "Are you thinking about starting a ranch?" Maya asked, then immediately felt foolish for being so forward. "Actually, I already own several ranches in other states. I'm looking at potentially expanding into this area." He extended his hand. "I'm David Cross." Maya hesitated before shaking his hand. "Maya Williams." "Nice to meet you, Maya. You seem to know your way around this library. Are you a regular?" "I try to come by once a week," Maya said, feeling self-conscious. She was wearing her diner uniform under her old coat, and she was sure she smelled like coffee and bacon grease. But David didn't seem to notice or care. "What kind of books do you like to read?" It had been so long since anyone had asked Maya about her interests, her preferences, anything about her as a person rather than just the girl who served their food or rang up their groceries. "I like, well, all kinds of things. History, biographies, sometimes fiction." She gestured to the book she was returning. "These are about women who started their own businesses in the early 1900s. David's eyebrows raised with genuine interest. "That sounds fascinating. What drew you to that topic?" Maya felt a flush of embarrassment. Here was this successful businessman asking about her reading habits like they mattered. "I guess I like reading about people who overcame difficult circumstances to build something meaningful." "Those are the best kinds of stories," David agreed. "Real people facing real challenges and finding ways to succeed despite the odds." Mrs. Chen finished with her other patron and came over to help David find the agricultural journals. Maya took her new books. She had picked out 3 novels about women facing life changes and prepared to leave. "Maya," David called as she reached the door. "Thank you for your help. I hope you enjoy your books." "You're welcome," she replied, feeling an unfamiliar warmth at his kindness. Maya thought about the encounter all day. At the diner, she found herself distracted, wondering what had brought David Cross to Pine Creek and why he had been so nice to her. Men didn't usually take time to have real conversations with her, especially not men who looked like they came from money. That evening, after checking on her grandmother and before her late-night work, Maya sat at the kitchen table with one of her new novels, but she couldn't focus on the words. Instead, she kept replaying her conversation with David, analyzing every word, wondering if she had said anything foolish. 3 days later, Maya was at the library again, earlier than usual because she had switched some shifts around to take her grandmother to a doctor's appointment. She was surprised to see the same black SUV parked outside. Inside, David was sitting at one of the reading tables with several books and journals spread out in front of him. He looked up when she entered and smiled. "Maya, good to see you again. How are those books about women entrepreneurs?" Maya was touched that he remembered. "I only finished one so far, but it was really interesting. It was about a woman who started a successful cattle ranch in Montana in 1885. "Really? What was her name?" "Elizabeth Harris. She inherited a small piece of land from her father and built it into one of the largest ranches in the state. The book said she had to overcome a lot of prejudice from male ranchers who didn't think a woman could succeed in the business." David leaned forward, genuinely engaged. "That's exactly the kind of story I find inspiring. What strategies did she use?" Maya sat down across from him, forgetting for a moment to be self-conscious. "Well, she started by learning everything she could about cattle breeding and ranch management. She spent hours talking to experienced ranchers, reading everything available, even working alongside her hired hands to understand the day-to-day operations. Smart approach. Learn the business from the ground up. But the interesting part was how she dealt with the social challenges. Instead of trying to prove she was as tough as the men, she used her differences as advantages. She focused on building relationships with suppliers and buyers, creating loyalty through trust and reliability rather than intimidation." David nodded thoughtfully. "That's actually brilliant business strategy. Work with your strengths instead of trying to copy someone else's approach." They talked for 20 minutes about business strategies, historical ranching methods, and the challenges of building something from nothing. Maya found herself sharing thoughts and ideas she had never spoken aloud before. David listened to everything, she said with genuine attention, asking follow-up questions that showed he valued her opinions. "I should let you get back to your research," Maya finally said, noticing the time. "Actually, I was just about to take a break. Would you like to get coffee? I'd love to continue this conversation." Maya's first instinct was to make an excuse and leave. Men like David didn't ask women like her to coffee, but something in his expression seemed sincere. "There's a good coffee shop down the street," she heard herself saying. The coffee shop was small and cozy, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. David insisted on buying Maya's coffee and a muffin, brushing off her protests. "So tell me," David said as they settled into a corner booth. "What's your background? You clearly have a good understanding of business concepts." Maya felt the familiar knot in her stomach. How could she explain her life, the 3 jobs, the sick grandmother, the desperate choices she was making? Instead, she deflected. "I just read a lot. What about you? How did you get into ranching?" David shared his story. Growing up on his grandfather's ranch, studying business in college, slowly building his operation from one small property to several large ranches across 3 states. He talked about his challenges, his failures, his successes. But he didn't boast or try to impress her. He spoke like he was talking to an equal. "The hardest part," he said, "is finding good people to trust with the day-to-day operations. Ranching isn't just about cattle. It's about managing land, people, finances, weather, market fluctuations. You need people who understand all of that and care about the success of the operation." "It sounds like you need people who can think strategically but also handle practical problems," Maya observed. "Exactly. Book smarts and common sense, it's a rare combination. Maya felt a glow of pride that he valued her insight. When was the last time someone had made her feel intelligent, capable, worth listening to? They talked for over an hour. David told her about his plans for potential expansion, his interest in sustainable ranching practices, his vision for creating operations that benefited both the land and the local communities. Maya found herself sharing her thoughts on small-town economics, the challenges facing rural areas, the importance of preserving agricultural traditions while adapting to modern realities. "I should get going," Maya finally said, noticing it was almost time for her shift at the grocery store. "Of course, thank you for the coffee and conversation. I really enjoyed it." As they walked back toward their cars, David turned to her. "Maya, I hope this doesn't sound forward, but would you be interested in having dinner sometime? I'd love to continue our discussion about rural business development." Maya's heart raced. A part of her wanted to say yes immediately, but reality crashed back down on her. What would people in town say if they saw her with David? How could she explain her life situation? What would happen when he found out about the choices she was making to pay for her grandmother's medical care? "That's very kind of you," she said carefully, "but I have a lot of responsibilities right now. My grandmother is very sick and I work multiple jobs to take care of." Maya hadn't seen David Cross for a week when disaster struck. She was in the middle of her morning shift at the diner, serving coffee to the usual crowd, when her phone buzzed with a call from Pine Creek Medical Center. "Miss Williams, this is Nancy from Dr. Martinez's office. Your grandmother has been brought in by ambulance. You need to come right away." Maya's hands shook so badly she could barely hang up the phone. Ben took one look at her face and waved her toward the door. "Go. Don't worry about anything here." Maya ran the 6 blocks to the hospital, her heart pounding with each step. She found her grandmother in the emergency room, surrounded by beeping machines and busy nurses. Rose looked so small in the hospital bed, her face pale and her breathing labored. Dr. Martinez met Maya in the hallway outside Rose's room. His expression was grave. "Maya, your grandmother's condition has deteriorated significantly. Her heart is failing. We need to do the surgery within the next 48 hours or—" He didn't need to finish the sentence. "But we don't have the money yet," Maya whispered, feeling the world spinning around her. "I understand. The hospital social worker is looking into emergency assistance programs, but honestly, most of those take weeks to process. We need to make a decision quickly." Maya spent the next 2 hours on the phone with insurance companies, charity organizations, and loan offices. Every conversation ended the same way. They couldn't help her fast enough to matter. As Maya sat in the hospital cafeteria, staring at a cup of coffee she couldn't afford, she felt completely defeated. She had been working the online video chats for weeks, but she still only had about $8,000 saved. She needed twice that amount, and she needed it now. Her phone rang. The number wasn't familiar, but Maya answered anyway. "Maya? This is David Cross. We met at the library last week." Maya's throat tightened. Of all the times for him to call. "David, hi. I'm sorry this isn't a good time. Is everything all right? You sound upset." Maya almost laughed at the absurdity of the question. Everything in her life was falling apart, and this successful businessman was asking if she was all right. "My grandmother is in the hospital. She needs emergency surgery and I don't have the money to pay for it." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "I'm so sorry to hear that. Which hospital?" "Pine Creek Medical Center. But really, I need to go." "Maya, wait. I'm actually calling with something that might help your situation. Are you available to meet for a few minutes? I'm in the area." Maya was too emotionally drained to argue. "I'm at the hospital cafeteria." 20 minutes later, David appeared with 2 cups of better coffee than the hospital served, and a determined expression. He sat across from Maya, who was sure she looked terrible. No makeup, red eyes from crying, wearing yesterday's clothes. "Tell me what's happening," he said gently. Maya found herself explaining everything. Her grandmother's heart condition, the cost of the surgery, her multiple jobs that still weren't enough. She didn't tell him about the online work, but she shared her desperation, her fear, her feeling of helplessness. David listened without interrupting. When she finished, He was quiet for a long moment. Maya, what I'm about to offer might sound unusual, but I hope you'll hear me out completely before responding. Maya looked at him suspiciously. In her experience, when men offered to help women in desperate situations, there were usually strings attached. I've been in Pine Creek for 2 weeks now, researching the possibility of establishing a ranch operation in this area. But what I really need is a local presence, someone who understands the community, who can manage day-to-day operations, handle local relationships, oversee the business side of things. Maya frowned. I don't understand what this has to do with. I need someone with intelligence, integrity, and strong communication skills. Someone who understands rural communities but also has business sense. After our conversations, I believe you have all of those qualities. David, I appreciate the compliment, but I don't have any experience in ranch management. Experience can be learned. Character and intelligence can't be taught. He leaned forward. Maya, I'm offering you a job. A real job with a real salary and benefits. Enough to pay for your grandmother's surgery and provide financial security for both of you. Maya stared at him. What kind of job? Ranch manager and community liaison for my new Pine Creek operation. You would oversee daily operations, manage staff, handle local business relationships, coordinate with suppliers and buyers. The salary would be $60,000 a year, plus health insurance, plus a housing allowance. Maya's mind reeled. $60,000 was more than she made in 3 years at her current jobs combined. It was enough to pay for her grandmother's surgery, their living expenses, and still have money left over. David, that's incredibly generous, but I don't understand why you would offer this to me. We barely know each other. I'm a good judge of people, Maya. It's essential in business. Our conversation showed me that you have the analytical skills, communication abilities, and work ethic I need. Plus, you understand this community in ways an outsider never could. Maya felt overwhelmed. This seems too good to be true. What's the catch? David smiled. No catch, just hard work and learning a new industry. I believe in investing in people with potential. But I don't know anything about cattle ranching. You'll learn. I'll provide training, mentorship, resources. You'd start with 6 months of intensive learning, working alongside experienced ranch managers at my other properties, studying ranch management, understanding the business from every angle. Maya's head was spinning. And you would pay for my grandmother's surgery? I would provide a signing bonus to cover immediate medical expenses. Consider it an investment in my new operation. Maya looked around the hospital cafeteria, at the worried families and overworked staff. 2 hours ago, she had been facing an impossible situation with no solutions. Now this man was offering her a way out that seemed almost miraculous. David, I need to ask you directly. Are you offering me this job because you feel sorry for me? His expression became serious. Maya, I'm offering you this job because I think you're exactly what my business needs. Yes, your current situation made the timing work out well for both of us. But I don't make business decisions based on charity. I make them based on results. What if I'm not good at it? What if I fail? Then we'll figure it out together. But I don't think you'll fail. Everything I've observed about you suggests you're someone who rises to meet challenges. Maya thought about her grandmother lying in the hospital bed, about the impossible medical bills, about the shameful work she had been doing online to try to raise money. This offer could solve all of those problems, but it seemed too perfect, too convenient. Maya had learned to be suspicious of anything that seemed too good to be true. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. But Maya, I need an answer by tomorrow morning. If you're interested, I'll have my lawyer draw up a contract and arrange for the medical payment immediately. That evening, Maya sat beside her grandmother's hospital bed, holding Rose's hand while she slept. The monitors beeped steadily, marking time that was running out. Maya thought about David's offer from every angle she could imagine. The salary was more than fair. It was generous. The work sounded challenging but interesting. The timing was perfect for her grandmother's medical needs. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something. Why would a successful businessman offer such an opportunity to someone he barely knew? What was he really getting out of this arrangement? Rose woke up around midnight. her eyes clearer than they had been in days. "Sweetheart, you look troubled. What's on your mind?" Maya told her grandmother about David's offer, leaving out some of the financial details but explaining the basic opportunity. Rose listened carefully, asking a few questions about David and his business. When Maya finished, her grandmother was quiet for a long time. "What does your heart tell you about this man?" Rose finally asked. I think he's genuinely trying to help, but I'm scared it's too good to be true. Sometimes, honey, when we're used to struggling, we forget that good things can happen too. Not everything that seems too good to be true actually is. But what if I'm wrong? What if I take this job and it's not what he says it is?" Rose squeezed Maya's hand weakly. "What's the alternative? Keep doing what you're doing now?" Maya thought about her 3 jobs, her exhaustion, the online work that was slowly destroying her self-respect. She thought about the medical bills that would keep growing, the impossible financial situation that was only getting worse. "Grandma, what if I'm not smart enough for this kind of work? What if I embarrass myself?" "Maya Williams, you are one of the smartest people I know. You've been managing complex situations and making difficult decisions since you were 12 years old. A ranch operation can't be more complicated than keeping us both fed and housed on 3 part-time jobs." Rose was right. Maya had been running a complex life management operation for years. Maybe ranch management was just a different type of problem-solving. "There's something else," Maya said quietly. "David treats me like I'm worth something, like my ideas matter. I haven't felt that way in a very long time." "That tells you something important about his character," Rose said. "And it tells you something important about yourself, too." The next morning, Maya called David from the hospital parking lot. 6 months later, Maya Williams stood on the front porch of a beautiful ranch house, watching the sunrise paint the Colorado mountains in shades of gold and pink. The sight still took her breath away every morning. This was her 3rd week at David's main ranch in Colorado, completing her management training before returning to Pine Creek to launch the new operation. The transformation in Maya's life had been so complete that sometimes she felt like she was living someone else's dream. Her grandmother's surgery had been successful. Rose was now living in a comfortable assisted living facility near the future Pine Creek Ranch location, with full-time medical care and enough energy to complain about the food and flirt with the male residents. Maya herself had changed in ways that went far beyond her circumstances. The constant worry about money was gone. The exhaustion from working 3 jobs was gone. The shame from her desperate online work was fading. But more importantly, Maya had discovered parts of herself she had forgotten existed. "Morning, Maya," called out Tom Rodriguez, the ranch foreman who had been teaching her the practical side of cattle ranching. Tom was in his 50s, had worked ranches all his life, and had initially been skeptical about David's decision to hire an inexperienced manager. But Maya's willingness to learn and her sharp questions had won him over. "Morning, Tom. Ready for another day of trying to teach me the difference between good pasture and great pasture?" Tom laughed. "You're catching on faster than most folks who've been doing this for years. Your eye for land quality is getting real good." Maya felt a surge of pride. Over the past months, she had thrown herself into learning ranch management, with the same determination she had once used to survive on 3 jobs. She studied everything: animal husbandry, pasture management, market trends, equipment maintenance, staff management, financial planning. But the real revelation had been discovering that she loved this work. The strategic thinking required to run a successful ranch operation, the problem-solving challenges, the satisfaction of building something sustainable. It all clicked for Maya in a way that surprised her. David appeared from the main house, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Over the months, their professional relationship had developed into something deeper, a friendship based on mutual respect and genuine care for each other's well-being. "How's the training going?" he asked, handing Maya her coffee. "Tom thinks I might actually know what I'm doing," Maya replied with a smile. "Though I still can't lasso anything without falling off the horse." "The lassoing is optional for management," David said. "The understanding of operations is essential, and you've mastered that." Maya looked out over the vast expanse of the Colorado. Ranch, thousands of acres of rolling hills, healthy cattle, well-maintained facilities. In a few weeks, she would return to Pine Creek to oversee the establishment of a smaller but similar operation. David, can I ask you something I've been wondering about for months? Of course. That day at the hospital when you offered me this job, had you already been planning to offer it to me, or did you decide because of my grandmother's situation? David was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. I had been thinking about offering you something since our first conversation at the library. Your insights about business, your understanding of rural communities, your intelligence, it all impressed me. But I'll admit your grandmother's crisis made the timing work out for both of us. Maya nodded. I needed to know it wasn't just charity. Maya, look around this ranch. Look at everything you've learned, everything you've accomplished in 6 months. Does this seem like charity to you? Maya surveyed the operation she now understood in detail. She knew the names and personalities of every staff member. She could analyze market reports and make recommendations about buying and selling cattle. She understood the seasonal rhythms of ranch work and the long-term planning required for success. No, she said firmly, this is earned. Exactly. I made a business investment in someone with potential. You've proven that investment was smart. That afternoon, Maya drove into the nearby town to run errands for the ranch. As she walked through the small downtown area, she caught a glimpse of herself in a store window and paused. The woman looking back at her was almost unrecognizable from the exhausted, defeated person who had served coffee at Pine Creek Diner 9 months ago. Maya had lost weight naturally through better eating and more physical activity. Her skin was healthier from spending time outdoors and getting enough sleep. Her clothes were well-fitted and professional. But the biggest change was in her posture and expression. Maya carried herself with confidence now. Her eyes were bright and alert instead of tired and defeated. She looked like someone who belonged in the world, someone whose opinions mattered, someone with a future worth planning for. The internal changes were even more dramatic. Maya had discovered she was good at managing people. She could motivate, staff, resolve conflicts, and create efficient systems. She had a natural talent for financial analysis and strategic planning. She enjoyed the challenge of optimizing ranch operations for both profitability and sustainability. Most importantly, Maya had learned to value herself. She no longer accepted that her life had to be defined by struggle and survival. She had dreams now, goals that extended beyond just making it through each day. That evening, Maya video called her grandmother from her comfortable room in the ranch house's guest quarters. Rose looked healthier than she had in years, her cheeks pink and her eyes bright. How are you feeling, Grandma? Like a new woman, sweetheart. The doctor says my heart is stronger than it's been in a decade. I've been taking walks in the garden and even joined the assisted living facility's book club. Maya smiled. Reading romance novels with the other ladies? Historical fiction, actually. We're discussing a book about a woman who started her own business in the 1800s. Reminded me of you. Maya felt a warm glow at the comparison. I've been thinking about our future, Grandma. When I get back to Pine Creek to start the new ranch, I want to build a small house on the property for you. Nothing fancy, but a place where you can have your independence while still being close to good medical care. Rose's eyes filled with happy tears. You don't know how long I've dreamed of having my own little place again. It's the least I can do. You took care of me when I needed it. Now it's my turn to take care of you properly. After ending the call, Maya sat on the porch as the sun set behind the mountains. She thought about the woman she had been 9 months ago, desperate, ashamed, trapped by circumstances that seemed impossible to change. That version of Maya would never have believed that this life was possible. A job she loved, financial security, respect from colleagues, a future full of possibilities. Most of all, she would never have believed that someone could see value in her beyond her ability to serve others. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from David. Spoke with Tom today. He says you're ready to run your own operation. High praise from him, proud of you. Maya smiled as she typed back. Ready to show Pine Creek what we can build together. Over the next few weeks, as Maya prepared to return to Pine Creek, she reflected on all the lessons she had learned. Success wasn't just about working hard, she had always worked hard. Success came from working in alignment with your abilities and values, from being in situations where your strengths could flourish. Maya had also learned that accepting help wasn't a sign of weakness when that help was offered with respect and genuine care. David hadn't rescued her. He had offered her an opportunity. Maya had done the work to succeed. Most importantly, Maya had learned to trust her own judgment and abilities. The scared, desperate woman who had made shameful choices to pay medical bills was still part of her story, but it wasn't the end of her story. When Maya finally returned to Pine Creek to begin establishing the new ranch operation, she drove through town with her head held high. She was no longer the invisible girl who cleaned offices and served coffee. She was Maya Williams, ranch manager and businesswoman, someone with important work to do and a future to build. The gossips in town would have plenty to say about her transformation, her new job, her relationship with David. But Maya found she no longer cared about their opinions. She had learned the difference between being talked about with malice and being talked about with respect. Some of Maya's former colleagues at the diner and grocery store were skeptical of her new situation. They whispered about what she might have done to earn such an opportunity, making assumptions that revealed more about their own limited thinking than about Maya's character. But others, like Ben from the diner, were genuinely happy for her success. "Always knew you had it in you, honey," he told her when she stopped by to visit. "Just needed the right opportunity to show it." Maya hired several local people to help with the ranch startup, providing good jobs in a community that needed them. She worked with local suppliers and contractors, bringing business to Pine Creek. She approached her role with the same determination she had once used for survival, but now she was building instead of just enduring. David visited frequently during the startup phase, but he gave Maya full authority to make operational decisions. Their relationship had evolved into something that surprised them both, a PO.